Hello, this is Julie Ann and Life with Collective Purpose. And today I am going to be talking about manifesting and the confusion that you can have between manifesting and your ego tricking you. So I want to tell a bit of a story. For those of you that know me, you know that recently I made an announcement on Facebook that I had found my retreat center. I had been manifesting and dreaming for at least 3 years about owning my own retreat center in Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, where I could bring together all of my authors that I have published, plus other spiritual leaders and wisdom keepers, that they could all gather in this amazing retreat center in Puerto Vallarta, where we could inspire and change the world by sharing our knowledge. Now, for those of you that know me, you know that I have, some people would say, a charmed life, although this year has been quite exceptional in terms of some of the bad luck and upheaval that I've experienced. I lost my fiance in the middle of August, and I also nearly died myself from pneumonia. That was a very traumatic time, not only with the illness, but my fiance was in coma for almost 30 days. And so being here in Mexico by myself with no family or friends during COVID time, I really relied on my community to help and support me. So, of course, my community was really delighted to hear that I'd had a turn of events and that I had found my retreat center and that I would be moving there. Now, the turn of events would be extraordinary in any circumstances. But the fact that this did not turn out to be the way I expected it to be makes it even more extraordinary. So let me tell you the story. So when my fiance died, his nickname was Azuka, which is sugar. He was a really extraordinary man, full of joy. And everybody that had met him was always happy when they were around him because he was just so joyful. Now, when he passed, I had quite a few people helping me to connect with him on the other side. And the theme that I had, it doesn't matter who I was talking to, it was always around my safety, keeping me safe and keeping me happy. And so I had been, communicating with Azuka as I was going through the journey of grief. And I clearly remember that I was driving into Puerto Vallarta, into Old Town, and I'm in the car and I'm chatting along with Azuka. And I said to him, Azuka, I think I'm ready for a new partner. I feel very lonely. I miss you so much. I miss the company of somebody who's joyful all the time. I miss the companionship and the encouragement. I miss the nurturing and the love. And I kind of gave up a whole list, of what my new partner would be, which would be all that Azuka was to me, Plus he would be a techie and he would be a handyman, because those were the two pieces that were, kind of missing from Azuka. And then I also said, it would be really, really good as well if he was, young and handsome and, all the things that, you want from a young and handsome man. So I put the word out there, and it seemed that as soon as I said that suddenly I was attracting a lot of connections with young men, and that can be unusual in Puerto Vallarta. It's not that easy for a single woman to actually meet a straight guy in Puerto Vallarta. So anyway, I just decided that if I just really focused on manifesting my dream partner and manifesting my retreat center, that these would be two areas that would bring a lot of joy and a lot of happiness into my life. And I made this announcement on Facebook as well, just so that everybody knew that this was my intention, that I was setting an intention to find my retreat center and to find my new partner. Although the new partner part, I didn't say so much about that. So very, very soon after that, I had another download that was, well, no one's going to find you if you don't make yourself be known in Puerto Vallarta. Since Azuka had passed in August, I had been, quite the recluse. I'd been kind of at home in Miss Maloya. I wasn't really socializing with anybody. I wasn't really, getting out there. And so, I was sitting there thinking, well, of course, how am I going to make any connections if nobody knows who I am? So I had just done a video, a podcast show, actually, a short one, about finding purpose and collective purpose, and the importance of people gathering together as a collective. And I put it out to all the groups in Puerto Vallarta. Now, there are about 20 different networking groups on social media in Vallarta, because there's a very large, growing expat population here. It's a way for everybody to connect. And so one of those networks that I had put out my video was a network called Digital Nomads. And this is a network for people that are working remotely from Puerto Vallarta. Digitally, they're doing online work of some description, freelance work. And I had a contact from a young man called Vicente. And he said to me, oh, I saw your podcast show, and I thought you would be interested to come along to Artis Mentales. It's a flotation center, and you can meet John, who facilitates it, and he does coaching. So without any hesitation, I just said yes. And because, of course, I'm following the breadcrumbs of manifesting, which is, you follow the clues, you look for coincidences, you follow your intuition. And so I grabbed my podcast equipment, and the very next day headed up to Cinco de Diciembre area of Puerto Vallarta. And as I'm driving up and up and up the hill to the very top of the hill, the houses are getting more spectacular. The villas are just beautiful, and a lot of the traditional Spanish architecture. And of course, as you went further and further up the mountain, you were getting a more and more spectacular view of the Bay of Banderas and all of the downtown of Puerto Vallarta. And as I'm driving, I can remember clearly thinking, wow, it's really beautiful up here. I would never consider previously even thinking about having a retreat center that close to downtown, because downtown can be very noisy. You know, there's a lot of music and nightclubs. And of course, if you're, you know, anywhere in the vicinity, even up the hill, then the noise from downtown can certainly reach you, and sirens and things like this. But this house was very much at the very, very top of the hill. And I was amazed by how quiet it was. And as I stood outside the property, I was impressed by the grandeur of it. It had a, you know, very large wooden door, big archways, and turrets, and, you know, very grand property. And I was greeted at the door by Vicente. He showed me through the property to meet John. As I walked out to the outside, you know, I was taken aback by the most amazing view. And John introduced himself to me, and as I'm looking around the property, I happened to look over you know, the edge of the building, and there was a casita, and I said, "Oh, that's is that your property as well?" And he said, "Yes, that's the casita. It belongs to the property, and in fact, our tenants have just moved out. If you know anybody who's interested in renting." Of course, my mind is going like crazy, because this is the first time I had seen this area, and I was impressed by the area. I said, "Oh, actually, you know, I may be interested myself." Anyway, we continued to talk, and as a continuation of that conversation, I had mentioned the reason why I was thinking of moving was because my fiance had died, and I was now living in this quite large property by myself in Miss Maloya, which is, you know, it's in the jungle. It's very isolated. Great if you're a couple, not so great if you're by yourself. And then as I told him that story, John said to me, "Well, that's a coincidence, because I actually lost my partner, Sandy, around the same time." And I said, "Wow, that's amazing. Well, that's an amazing coincidence." And just as I said that, there was a large bumblebee that kind of buzzed in front of my face, and I had used this in meditation as a sign. You know, if I was going down the right path towards manifesting my dreams, this sign would be there. So I'm looking at all these coincidences, and then John said to me, in fact, Sandy had said to me when she passed, because I said to her, "You know, what's going to happen to this place after you leave? You know, you're the one that's been bringing all the customers. You're the one that's been bringing the energy and the light. You know, I don't know how to run this retreat center. What's going to happen?" And she had told him, "Don't worry, a woman will be coming along. She's going to take care of everything, and she's going to bring a lot of light and energy and people to the retreat center." And so then he kind of looked at me and he smiled and he said, "And there you are." So I kind of laughed and showed me around the building. It was 6 bedrooms. It had a really large living room space. You could easily fit 100 people. And immediately I can see the picture of events there. I can see, you know, like a Sunday gathering of spiritual people. I can see music events. I can see salsa events. I can see writing retreats. I can see spiritual gatherings. I could see pool parties. You know, there was all these things that I was visualizing, you know, art therapy retreats and meditation and dance classes and yoga. And, you know, like literally, it was like a vision that I could see. And so I took that as a sign. I took that as a sign that my dream for a retreat center was manifesting. And John was encouraging me and saying, you know, you can just come and do what you want with this building. You know, I just have one room in this property. And with Sandy not being here, you know, there's no business, you know, the place is dead. So you're welcome to come here. You can stay in the main house if you want. You can rent the casita, you know, just whatever works. And I was like, wow, that was easy. You know, here's my retreat center. I haven't even had to purchase it or spend any money, and basically being given free reign of this place. So it was kind of a no-brainer. So I immediately thought, okay, that's it then. So I'm going to pack up Miss Maloya, pack up the apartment. It was on a lease, so I had 6 months left of my lease agreement. So I started getting the word out to sublet to one of my friends for the rest of the period, and I started to pack up. I very quickly started the move to the retreat center and the casita, and started investing a lot of money in creating a home in the casita. You know, painting it, decorating it, organizing, and quite quickly started to discuss and organize what was needed to be done to the main house, so that I could start bringing people in, and even started to look at events as close as the last week of December. And started to put it on the website and everything. So, you know, this was the done deal. This was the Influence Publishing Retreat Center. My dream had come to life. I had manifested my dream retreat center. Now, in the meantime, as I'm going, you know, backwards and forwards, and, you know, John and Vicente were extremely helpful, because I was still at that time in quite heavy grief. You know, Azuka had not passed that long ago. And, you know, it was difficult for me to maintain, you know, all that was happening, and to, you know, continue with the grief journey, as well as now cope with this extra chaos of moving house. So John and Vicente were very helpful in terms of being supportive and loving. You know, John said, you know, this is your new family, you know, you never have to be alone again. Vicente was very helpful. He was coming to the house and helping me move things, and, you know, helping me clean up the casita. And kind of before I knew it, Vicente had become a very good friend. You know, he was coming down to the casita. We were having a glass of wine at nighttime as we were organizing the house. We were having very deep spiritual conversations. I was sharing all my dreams for the retreat center, and we started to get quite close. Then things started to crumble, and it was a very strange situation, because John started behaving a little strangely. Now I realized he was also in heavy grief. And so, you know, that's not a good situation. You know, emotions are running high. But I decided to kind of back off. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm putting up too much pressure in terms of getting things up and running too quickly at the retreat center. The next thing I know is I received an eviction notice, basically saying that the big house had been sold, and therefore the casita had been sold, and I needed to leave the property. Now, of course, at this point, I'm just like, what? You know, this is my dream. You know, I've shared this with everybody. I've told everybody about my new retreat center, the Influence Publishing new retreat center, and, you know, and how amazing it is. And I'm letting my ego really get carried away, because everybody on Facebook's congratulating me and saying, oh my goodness, Julie, you're so amazing at manifesting, you know, you're the magical manifester. Oh my God, how do you do it? And basically I just allowed my ego to just run with this. And I think somewhere along the line, I had mixed up, you know, manifestation of my dream, the retreat center, and forgetting, you know, to do things like put stuff in writing, get clarity, etc. So So this was not my dream. This was not my retreat center. And after spending 6 weeks decorating, planning, making the casita beautiful, and, you know, pretty much within 6 weeks, I still had boxes unpacked. And now I was being asked to move out. Now, the one person that was an absolute rock through this whole thing was Vicente. And by this time, we had started to get romantically involved. And as the pressure and the stress of my dream being taken away from me, and having to move again after only 6 weeks, we became closer and closer within our relationship. And I realized that this was connected to Azuka. And the turning point of my realization for that was one evening, we're having dinner, and Vicente suddenly looked at me with a strange, not a strange, but a very calm look on his face. And he just said, "I give Azuka permission to use my body." And the next thing I know, Azuka was in Vicente's body, communicating with me directly through Vicente. Now, this has happened a few times since, and we've got help in terms of supporting us in that communication, but realizing that this whole story of manifesting a retreat center was never about the retreat center. It was only my ego that made it about the retreat center. In the meantime, my relationship with Vicente and Azuka was blossoming, and my spiritual relationship was blossoming. But I was letting my ego distract me from all of that was happening as well because of the retreat center. So the minute I let go of the retreat center and said, this is not actually my retreat center. This was never about the retreat center. This was always about Azuka and Vicente. And now I realize that when it comes to manifesting is really a manifestation of our spiritual journey, our path. And my path is a much bigger path than I ever realized it was. And in order for me to do that, I've now been shown a new soulmate, a spiritual partner, which is also very connected to Azuka. So I've now got that strong connection with Azuka, but also now with my new partner, Vicente. And together we're having very deep spiritual conversations about the new generation of healers, which is Vicente. And the partnership of the two generations joining together, this is the evolution of healers, the evolution of spiritual leaders. So it's a very significant path of my personal journey, my personal spiritual journey. And now I am back in Miss Maloya, back in my old apartment, and just delighted to be back here. I have put that whole event now as an experience, not about the retreat center and manifesting a retreat center, but actually looking for the next step in my spiritual journey with my new soulmate, supported also by Azuka. And so, you know, my message at this time of the year where we're approaching Christmas and approaching the new year is, yes, you can manifest your dreams, but don't be attached to them, because there may be something much bigger, a much bigger purpose than you could possibly ever know. And what you really need to do is to just follow those clues, let the divine guide you, ask for guidance, and don't be attached to the outcome. Don't be attached to your version of your dream, because there's a much bigger purpose, a much bigger agenda, a much bigger collective purpose that is happening. And I now know that meeting Vicente gives me the support to be able to continue this spiritual journey of collective purpose and the bridging of two age groups from 30 up to 60 and beyond. But the bridging of those two generations of healers and the 40 to 60 year olds mentoring and helping the 30 to 40 year olds, which are the new generation, the new evolution of healers that are all waking up right now. That is the manifestation, not the retreat center. So listen to the guidance, but don't be attached to the outcome, because you might actually be surprised that what the divine has in store for us is much bigger than we could have ever imagined. Thank you, and keep living life with collective purpose. Bye for now.